So we have a special little segment today. We went to see the advanced screening of the Transformers Bumblebee movie. And so we're going to be giving you a nice review about that. I don't know if I want to do a review from a deep spoiler perspective or I want to do a review that just lets people know, hey, it's a good movie and go see it.
But I think the latter, because I mean the movie's going to be out on the 21st, and we're still at the beginning of the month here, so I don't feel super comfortable. Just here's everything, I mean,
Yeah, I guess we won't do a synopsis. I think we'll just do more maybe what we like about the movie.
I think the only thing I would say, just a warning, get there on time, get there a little bit early. The beginning is, if you're a big fan of G1, if you're a big fan of Transformers, and, for the last, 6 movies? Or is this the 6th movie?
Well, of the stuff,
5? Of the Bay movies, basically. The Bay Universe movies. How much do we have in total here?
It would be 6 in total.
Not including this one, I mean.
Well, not before it was 5. These aren't.
Okay.
This one, see, there's two like
well, the just to end off my warning is just go there early, go there on time. For the last 5 movies, we've always been complaining it's not like I remember. Get there on time. That's all I'm gonna say. Just get there before the credits start rolling at the beginning and they show all the production companies that worked on this movie. Get there on time. That's the warning you're getting for this movie.
The two things that I think I want to address for people that are probably like the burning questions, because when I got back from the movie, a lot of people started like asking me a lot of questions and stuff. Number one, how much of this Generation 1 Cybertron scenes were there as opposed to what were shown in the trailers? And number two, how much is this actually connected to the Michael Bay universe? The first one to answer is, unfortunately, if I had to like percentile it, what we saw in terms of in trailers of Soundwave and Optimus Prime and stuff, if you've been paying attention to most of the trailers that were released, there's not a lot of new footage in the movie in terms of that. There is one scene that isn't really like a Cybertron flashback scene. It's more just the two main villain characters of Shatter and Dropkick. Before they go to Earth, they pretty much they meet up with another Autobot and take him out. And it's an original Generation 1 character, and I was actually quite happy to see him. But it was kind of sucks that they kill him, which was not... that was still
someone's got to go. Sad to say,
that's
usually the case with these movies. Somebody's got to go.
This movie, while it's not a Michael Bay movie, it's still kind of possessed the Michael Bay cruelty that they've possessed thus far, meaning like just characters just kind of get knocked off very easily.
I mean, when you have a character list, like a character name list, that's super deep, I mean,
Simon Furman used to have a way about it. Was we were always introduced to characters, but second it was a character that wasn't named after a toy. It'd be like very like, okay, Simon Furman's having this scene where a whole bunch of Autobots are raiding somewhere, and it's going to be Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Prowl, Brawn,
and the red shirt,
and Ran track. Guess who's going to get shot through the chest? Like. That's what usually happened. But anyway, so
I kind of feel like no, I'm not gonna say anything. I was gonna. Yeah. I'll mention it later on.
I'm gonna leave that for people to go. Oh wow, that character's in the movie. But I will say this character, they kept a G1 aesthetic for him, which is really cool. They didn't go about doing a very strong Michael Bay aesthetic for his robot mode. So that was pretty cool. Aside from that, though, there really isn't a lot more. I mean, there is a few little things here and there, but they're so small that it's more just, oh, hey, that, rather than like, wow, that was a good 4-minute scene on Cybertron, or that 4-minute, G1 scene. It's not a lot more. But that being said, it's not to say that the movie possessed other things that we didn't really expect that was being shown in the trailers. I think that the movie, what I liked the most about it, and what almost makes me feel sad after seeing the movie, was I really enjoyed it being based in the 80s, and as a result of that, making the entire soundtrack 80s music.
Yeah.
And the choice of
I thought one thing I thought was really interesting about the musical choice is that it's stuff that you don't hear a lot in other movies, or you don't hear in regular rotation. I find.
Yes, I was.
I think it was like it was a more fresh other stuff to like go and find and listen to.
I don't know.
That's what I dug about it.
I don't know who made the decision to pick the specific 80s music for the movie,
the playlist, basically.
But I was very happy because, to give an example, one of Bon Jovi's, Bon Jovi's super famous 80s musician, one of his like super niche unknown songs that's about a car that he bought called Runaway was used in the movie. And I was like, that is so clever, but at the same time, it's like one of his songs that no one really knows. Like, She's a Little Runaway, it's about him like buying a car and how fast it is. And it's like no one knows, everyone knows all of Bon Jovi's staple songs.
Yeah, the songs that you always sing at
Living on
karaoke,
a Prayer,
basically.
Living on a Prayer, and even like his later stuff in Have a Nice Day. Like, Runaway is like one of his like obscure B-side vinyl, nobody. And I was like, the second I heard it, I was like, oh wow. So a lot of this, obviously there was a few that were still 80s classics that were again, we saw the I would say Rickroll, but it's not Rickroll. It's the Rick Astley Never Gonna Give You Up. Some of those are in there.
I feel like they put that in there just to be like, all right, everyone knows this 80s song, and then it's just like moving on, That's one thing I kind of dug about that scene.
But there still was a good, like you said, a good playlist of nice, fresh 80s music. So you're going to hear 80s music, but it's like, oh, I've never heard that one, but that's pretty good. And again, that's something I miss because we're not going to be maybe I'm wrong, but we're not. I feel like we probably won't be returning to the 80s for the next movie or whatever.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed having a movie that the whole soundtrack was 80s inspired. Now,
I think that was very, very much intentional. You know what
totally.
I mean? Like super, super, super intentional.
It was something like there was a movie more than 2 decades ago. I remember it was called A Knight's Tale. And it was based obviously in the seven, it was whatever that was, 1500s during the
it's medieval times.
Medieval times, yeah. And the whole soundtrack was 80s music.
The people would be singing it in the background, or the band would be playing it, kind of thing. It wasn't just boom 80s song. It'd be
it was pretty cool.
The crowd would be singing it.
It was pretty cool, that movie, and I was like, man, it's nice to have a movie that the whole even Wayne's World. It's it was a whole movie that just kind of had that kind of soundtrack, and because that's a kind of music I really enjoy, it really made the movie more enjoyable. The OST itself, the instrumental soundtrack, was still what's his name from pretty much all the other Transformers movies. He returned for all of that, so you still had the
old crew kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's all the other people that made the movie except Bay, I guess.
Yeah, well, because you still had the iconic Arrival of the Autobots theme still lingering in the background of certain scenes. But whenever they needed to use vocal music instead of let's say the first movie where they used Linkin Park or something, they went straight for 80s stuff. And again, the good thing about this movie was it really recognized, it did a good job of being in the 80s aesthetically. They really went out of their way clothing wise, set design. If a character, there was a lot of times in this movie, I don't know if you noticed sitting next to me, but there would just be a scene where they'll just do a shot in someone's bedroom, and then I would lean forward in my chair.
Yeah, you're looking at everything in the room, basically. That's your new thing now, it seems like. This movie's from the 80s. What do they have in their room?
Yeah, it was, well, I know the Goldbergs, that's the best example. Whenever they go into Adam Goldberg's bedroom, it's what is he? What toys does he have this week? And so it was the same thing. There'd be so many scenes, whether it be Charlie's room or Memo, the other human character. And
yeah. Memo had
Memo
the
had
Thing poster, Raiders of the Lost Ark
well, he had a boxed
poster in his background.
He had a boxed Rock Lords in the background. I couldn't tell which one because the box was sideways, but I think it was the pterodactyl one. And at one point in the movie, he's actually reading a GoBots, not like a comic book, but like a kid's book. And I was like, oh, so in the Bay universe, GoBots are are a product.
Well, because remember, he's like, there's a part where he's trying to work up some courage, and he's telling himself he's not a nerd. And he's like, well, I am a nerd, but she won't have to know that yet.
And I appreciate that though, that the fact that they could have just went for like generic sci-fi stuff, but they went legitimately 100% with the GoBots, like the original 1983.
I think that's intentional. Anything that they do in the movies is intentional, and if anybody notices and comments about it, they're like, oh, cool, someone caught my little thing that I put in. Sweet. You know what I mean? And plus they can, because it's all Hasbro.
Yeah, it's all Hasbro now. They bought it from Tonka. So, but it's just like, I really appreciated that kind of stuff. And same thing too, like it's like a meta within the meta, which was there was a heavy emphasis on Judd Nelson.
Yeah, like they lean
Breakfast Club.
super hard. I would just leave it at that, basically. Like a lot of Breakfast Club references.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Which is funny because it's not like Hot Rod's the main character in the movie, but I guess it was really like a nod within a nod. We're going like, we're Breakfast Club already very big 80s staple, but specifically because Judd Nelson was Hot Rod in the 86 movie and moving forward with animated.
And that has to be intentional.
Oh no, that was 200%.
That's not like, oh, it just so happened. I'm like, all these things are very deliberate what they did in this movie.
Well,
and I think that's what's really cool about it, is that it's like, if you're listening to this podcast and you're knee deep in Transformers, you're knowing what they're doing, kind of thing. Like, oh, I saw what you did there.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's hammer it home. And it's like, like, I think everybody else that goes to see this movie that's not a big fan or a long time fan, I think that's the proper word of it, is that they're gonna be like, okay, sure, yeah, it's the 80s Breakfast Club, whatever. But they won't get that. They won't get that. Like, Judd Nelson voiced Hot Rod / Rodimus in the 86 movie. And then it's like, hey, Judd, yo, what's up, man?
Another person
in the movie.
Another person from the 86 movie that actually kind of resurfaces is, I'm not going to say which, you're probably going to be able to guess, but one of Stan Bush's songs are also in the movie. I right away turned to Wendell in the movie. I'm like, Stan got his check in the mail. He got his check in the mail for this one. Unaltered original soundtrack, 80s release. So again, I really appreciate just how much they went out of their way to just have everything from the 80s. Even, and I'll tell you this too, because my father was a die-cast car collector. In Charlie's garage, they actually had a 1983, like 83 was the release, 1983, 1967 Corvette Hot Wheels toy, which my father owned. And I was like, it was in her garage, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of attention to detail. You know what I mean? The fact that they went and got that old 1/64 scale Hot Wheels toy to put in her garage on her workbench because she's working on a 67 Corvette. So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
The set production was really good. Like, you're watching all these little things here and there that comes up again and again. It's very clear that, like, the way the movie's kind of set up, it's like there's a lot of remnants of the 70s.
Oh yeah,
that's still around. It's one of those like haves and have-nots kind of thing going on, where everyone that kind of like has not, they're like, their stuff is still from the 70s, and everyone that has is like everything's like 80s based. Well, from the 80s,
80s aesthetic, I've always said, has always been the Egyptian tombs of the 70s lingering over, with technology trying to sneak its way in. Meaning, like, you still have 70s shag carpet and 70s, like, drapes and 70s, like, late 70s hairstyles, but then a person's holding a cell phone that's the size of a brick. You know what I mean? So it's like there's that's always been 70s aesthetic, and I just loved it. And the thing too is, like, we're mentioning a few things. There's probably tons of stuff we didn't catch because it was you'd have a
Blink
scene
and
where
you miss it kind of thing.
yeah, it was one of those things where it's like Charlie would get up, she'd go to put in a tape to listen to music, and you just see a roll of tapes, and you could clearly see the titles all on the spines, but you had about
like a
2
deck of
seconds.
them.
Yeah, you had 2 seconds to look, and so I'd lean in and go, all right, what do we got here? What do we got? And that was it, so. Because here's me going like, oh, are they going to have like, I don't know, like Last of the Starfighters soundtrack, or you never know. Like it's just they went out of their way a lot of times to really, I mean, and there's no specific year given. You just
it is. Yeah. It's 1987.
oh, okay, they say at 87. I didn't catch
it's
that.
87.
Okay,
They
so
do drop
that makes sense for Stan then, because that's why I was like, okay, if Stan's song's in it, so that's 86 minimum right there. And I'm not even saying from the 86 movie, because he was with Scotty Brothers. Like that's like the company he was with at the time.
Oh, okay.
Along with Weird Al. So, but there's
okay. So all that makes sense. Then.
yeah. So there's again, there's so much going on. So I really appreciate that a lot. Another thing,
but I think like talking about the movie itself, it has a lot of heart. Like you really, like you really get a feel for the main character Charlie. You really get a feel for Bumblebee. Like he has, like they have like an actual relationship to each other and stuff like that. And it's so like, and it definitely harkens back to like older 80s movies where that kind of stuff happens. Kid meets alien and they form a bond, that kind of stuff.
I compare this a lot, this one, to E.T. It's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that.
You have a lot smaller cast. Like you had the alien, you had the Elliot character, you had the sibling, which in this case was not, Drew Barrymore. it was a boy. You have like the detective in the case of not detective but FBI agent in E.T. In this case, the Sector 7 in John Cena.
Agent Burns.
Yeah, Agent Burns, John Cena. We actually, I don't want to spoil this one. I want to make sure if someone catches it. There's actually a former Sector 7 agent who also makes a little cameo, but his younger self. So that's kind of cool too. There's nods within the Bay universe, but actually,
like it seems like this is kind of like a retcon. I guess is the best way to put it.
The way what it is, and I was talking to Wendell after the movie. I was saying like if certain scenes were removed from this movie, I would say this is straight up a prequel to the Michael Bay movies. But there were scenes that were added in this movie that pretty much hammer home and say, okay, this is its own thing.
Yeah, we're starting from scratch.
Yeah,
technically.
And one of those things is, and I don't want to say what it is, but it's one of those things that just to let people know, the movie doesn't really have an after credit scene. It just has like it's like you have, I guess we call it mid-credit scene, which is they play the more like with the Marvel movies. What they usually do is they play the fancy credits, which have like all kinds of bells and whistles and art, and then when those credits end, you get a scene. And then they play the actual black and white scrolling credits, and then there's another scene. In the case of this movie, we only get the mid-credit scene.
Pretty much.
So you don't have to you don't have to sit through the whole theater.
And what was pretty cool is that for the advanced screening, they actually had like a little feature right at the end.
Oh yeah, that's what we got. We actually did for our screening, but I don't think the mainstream screenings will have this.
No, I don't think so.
But
I don't think so.
For our special preview screening, we did get like you said, after the credits, we got like I think I swear I think it was something that was already online anyways.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
I felt like I've seen snippets of those clips elsewhere. I'm not too sure where though, but it was just a quick like, oh, here's some of the characters and what we.
I thought what's pretty cool is that we got to see some character models.
Oh, some of the character models, that were shown. It's true, were not ever seen before. Okay, I take it back, and I don't want to talk about those character models because they might be considered spoilery. But yeah, it was a very good movie. It was. The way I liken it to, because some people were going like, "What is it the best of all the Transformers movies?" And the way I compared it to that, really, I felt comfortable saying was, I felt like it's Thor to what would be an Avengers movie, meaning that it wasn't like the big epic scale, oh my God, you leave the theater and go, wow, what did I just see kind of movie. It was more the satisfying small snippet of what is going to be the big event movie later.
Yeah.
You know, again, this wasn't like was there action? Yes, there was. Was there a car chase? Yes, there was. Was there like robots kicking the crap out of other robots? Yes, there was. Was there like humans chasing after robots and shooting guns and lasers? Yes, there was. Was there death? Yes, there was. Was there heart? Yes, there was. But all of that wasn't on like the crazy epic, you know, like mainline scale. And as crazy as this is the sound, I still feel in the end, the very first Michael Bay movie edges out this one. As much as crazy as that is, only because I felt like that was a bigger event movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you left it was like, wow, this was like a big.
Well, yeah, and that's also the first time you've ever seen it. Now we're like,
oh yeah,
this is 6 movies in. We're kind of like, okay, we've been here, done that. You know what I mean? After a span of so many years.
I asked myself, I was like, if this would have been the first movie, right? Like we never got that first 2007 one. Would have you had that same emotion? I don't know. Like I felt like this was E.T. This was something that was more. It's again like Thor, where I didn't hate the Thor movie. It was very satisfying, funny. You know, it had heart. You know, it did what it had to do, and that's what I feel around with this one too. I'll say this: there was nothing in this movie I didn't like. If I actually had to criticize even anything, I think it's more just little silly things that like if I was at like there's a scene where the Decepticons are sending a message to their fellow Decepticons, and I'm going, you could have used Cybertronian and then have that Cybertronian translate, because the Michael Bay movies did that at one point.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like for that, like this movie is kind of going for that. We're catering to old-time fans, and also we're making a kind of a family movie here.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like putting in the Cybertronian would just been like, oh, God, like I don't understand what that said. You know what I mean? Like it would have been going so fast and so quick, and I don't know. I think they're trying to like, okay, we need you to just understand what's going on and move on. Little minutia. Like, I mean, it would have been cool to have the Cybertronian there, or like maybe somebody from Hasbro would be like, "Hey, can you do it this?"
It's such a minor complaint for me. It doesn't like that's like the only thing I was sitting in a movie and going, I would have changed that, but otherwise that's it. You know, that's.
I think it was just for like not pacing, but just for everyone to be on the same page at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like as an audience, I think that's more so for us, and also the fact that I think if there's like something that my girl pointed out to me was that so how come they just speak English?
Well, see, and again, that was
and you don't get that scene every time, every Transformers show or movie or whatever. They always say, "Oh, well, we scanned your airwaves, we saw your TV, we saw your radio, we scanned the internet, and we learned how to speak English." But this is just like to cut to the chase, to get to the end goal. It's just like, well, yeah, we just know English. Don't worry about it.
and again, like when watching this movie, I was constantly looking to see the connection to the Bay ones to get an establishment here, and how, you know, humans at the first time they encounter Bumblebee, like let's say the Sector 7 military, they were super surprised to see him. And so clearly, like, and this is Sector 7. This isn't just like basic military. So if they had NBN-1 Megatron, right, that wouldn't be as much of a surprise. And same thing, because we see, and again, this goes back to the aesthetic of the movie. We get to see vintage Sector 7 back in the 70s with all that.
No, back in the 80s.
Excuse me, 80s, with all that 80s technology and stuff. Yeah. It was very enjoyable, but it actually, again, there's so many little things that help you establish that this isn't a prequel to the 2007 movie, especially the end.
I was gonna say, for me, this might edge out the 2007 first movie, only because I feel like it's a little bit easier to follow this. The continuity kind of makes a little bit more sense. It's not just willy-nilly like, these pair of glasses have a thing in it. Is the magical MacGuffin? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It feels more character driven.
Every single Michael Bay movie had a MacGuffin. I do agree with that.
everyone has a MacGuffin, and every MacGuffin revolves around something special on Earth that no other Transformer knew about, which is like, how does that even work?
Well,
um,
I think that
I,
both the 2007 movie and this one possessed a lot of parallels. It was a lot of, boy gets his first car kind of thing.
yeah, exactly.
And it's a junker, but, in the case of Sam, didn't appreciate it. In the case of Charlie, she's like
Yeah.
absolutely grateful to have the hunk of junk.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like the character Charlie's way more likable.
Oh yeah,
Where Witwicky seemed more entitled,
I think
he seemed way more just like, well,
the best
entitled.
way to describe Charlie was, and it's been, and now that's been a key character in a lot of 80s movies too, and I'm pretty sure that inspiration was just this, like, the shy, breathless, underdog character, not popular with the kids at school, doesn't have a lot of friends, family kind of like ignores them kind of character. That's been used a lot in a lot of, like, again, even The Breakfast Club is a good example of that. One of the characters in The Breakfast Club was, one of the male characters was almost a parallel of that. But she almost felt like she was a fusion of a lot of Breakfast Club characters too.
Yeah, like a lot of John Hughes movies kind of thing where like maybe each person's a cautionary tale kind of thing. So yeah, like, I mean, this character I felt more well-rounded comparatively
Oh yeah.
to the other characters we have, and like, you kind of, one thing I did like is that you kind of saw everybody's side. So like, she's having like a little bit of family problems, and you're seeing the family side, you're seeing her side of it.
You're getting her origin story in a lot of ways. Yeah.
So I did dig that. And like, it just makes it more relatable, and B doing his thing. The fact that he talks at the beginning of the movie was pretty cool, and
yes,
Spunky B, Spunky B.
Really,
that's always great to see, and he's having his interaction with Optimus, but like,
that was the other thing actually. I didn't like about the movie, but I was like, it's inevitable. But I was like, at the beginning of the movie, B is talking a lot, and then when he lost,
no, I mean, like,
more than he's having in 5 movies. Let's put it this way.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, you're supposed to get that thing, like, oh, okay, cool, and then when the thing happens, you're like, oh,
But it was
and
just
he has to work through that.
The second he lost his voice, I was just like, no. I started to really like this voice actor for Bumblebee, and I was
so like, yeah, and I think one thing I do like is that
it makes
both
sense
of these characters.
It makes sense from the ET perspective of communication. So obviously,
And also, these two characters are, they're on their journey, and they have like a character development. They have to kind of like overcome, kind of thing.
Learn to communicate with each other too.
Yeah, in order to communicate with each other and kind of understand each other. I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff here, and I think it's a lot. You could definitely bring your kids to this one. Obviously, there's going to be robot violence.
It's still PG-13. There still is violence. There still is swearing. Actually, I remember you turned to me in the middle of the movie. You're like, "Oh."
I was like, "Yeah, there's their one." It's like going to see the '86 movie in Canada.
There's shit number 1, But it was.
I liked it. I really a nice fresh, like, kind of reset button kind of thing, like a soft reset. And it's almost 2 hours, so it's not going to take up your whole day.
It was pretty quick. And again, what was good about it, at no point was there mental fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very quick movie. I almost felt like by the time it was wrapping up, I was like, oh, it's done already. I guess I got so used to those sprawling 3-hour movies, 2.5-hour movies. This is just under 2 hours. And what was fascinating too was when I got home, I looked up, like, this movie also didn't cost a lot to make either. It was only $70 million, like half the budget of the first movie.
Like, I think, like, if you pare it back a lot, you sure it was $7 million?
No. Excuse me, I was taking a sip of water. $70 million.
$70 million to make?
Yeah, that's it. Which is like
box office. Okay, I'm seeing box office and I'm seeing budget.
Budget was.
I'm seeing here budget is estimated on IMDb, $128 million.
I have here produced for a lower budget of around $70 million, less than half the budget of the first film. So that's what I have here. I mean, and the
I don't know.
The source was Hollywood rethinks key movie franchises and mixed summer. This is from the
Yeah, I mean, like,
Hollywood Reporter.
it makes more sense to like not go all out, because this one wasn't going all over the world. This one wasn't, like
All based in Southern California and CG scenes of Cybertron and or like satellites, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. I think I don't know, like, again, this one I don't mind the human characters. You know what I mean? Like,
It was good.
just it's really looking at what happened before and just like, okay, we don't need the parents to be overbearing and ridiculous and over the top.
They didn't have annoying comedy relief tag along characters there's characters that clearly are like the non main characters that are there to be the side characters, and they do have their funny quirks, but they weren't like the overtly like young kid tag along annoying thing, or funny character that has his funny quirks, like he likes to eat all the time,
Yeah.
It was a good balance of everything.
And also you notice that Bumblebee's eyes are way bigger in this one.
Oh yeah.
Bumblebee, like they even in the little featurette they said like, okay, we had to like pare back and put more plating on all the Transformers because we wanted to make it look a little bit more clean. And specifically with Bumblebee, they took away a lot of stuff from his face, so his eyes could emote more. So you can see what he's saying, as opposed to you have to hear the beeps and bloops and stuff. It's like, film is a visual medium. Show it. You don't have to tell us. You don't have to hide it with all this other stuff or add sound on top of it. Like, just be acting the way he acts and way he expresses himself through his eyes and his gestures and stuff. Like, that should tell you what he's feeling, what he's thinking, and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate it. I really liked what Travis Knight did with this, and I'd like that they gave him a shot to do it. And from a guy that does animation. Again, one thing I think Hollywood's starting to do now is tapping people that do animation to do some of these big time movies now. And I think that's really good because they probably have a better vision, a better sense of space. The fight scenes, one thing I really liked about the fight scenes was that there was a lot of, like, when Bumblebee fights, he's fighting people that are bigger than him. So he's using a lot of judo throws. He's using a lot of
using his space smartly.
He's using a lot of what is it called again? Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like, if you catch it, he does like a triangle choke on somebody.
He did an arm bar at one point. Yeah,
like, I'm like, what? They actually put that in there, and you actually see him doing it.
Yeah, it's
so I think that also helps too. Instead of the Autobots fighting stuff that's other robots that are gray or black or beige. Like, they're actually fighting characters that are their colors pop. So when he's fighting Dropkick, when he's fighting what's the other one?
Shatter.
Shatter. Shatter. Like you can make out who's who, and you can actually kind of see the spatial awareness that's kind of going on. So I think that's a big step up too. It's not just shaky cam and, oh my god, this thing explodes over here because that and that, this and that, and yada yada yada. Like, I feel like there's a cleaner sense of action going on. And because it's not all-out war on the streets kind of thing, it's more intimate. It's just Bumblebee and another person. It's always a one-on-one kind of thing going on.
And the best side-by-side comparison with that is like you could put one of the one-on-one fight scenes in this movie and put it side-by-side of when Bumblebee fought Barricade in the first movie. Mm-hmm. And when Bumblebee fought Barricade in the first movie, at a lot of points you had no idea what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
It was very like, you're just focusing on Sam running away more than anything, while there was just this mess of unfocused crap going on in the background. Where this one had, I remember when the first movie came out, everyone's like, would it kill you to do a wide shot once in a while? Someone pointed that out, and I was like, yeah, that's true. I do agree.
Like, I would get it for the first movie. It's like, okay, well, the first movie we're seeing it from the human's point of view, so you just don't know what the hell is going on. But then in the second movie, it should be like, okay, more wide shots, more. We should be able to see what's going on, as opposed to like, hey, remember that time I flipped somebody over you? And it's like, I get that. They're big. I get that.
This did a very good job of that. Again, also, like what you mentioned before when it came to the emoting, one thing I also appreciated was they really didn't rely too much on the radio for communication.
Yeah. It just seemed like this was like the origin of it kind of thing.
Like, honestly, if you could count it, like I think 4 or 5 times in the movie, he actually used the radio to like say something, and most of the time he was just kind of playing music to set his mood, if anything. It was more just like, B, how are you feeling? And he'd play like a 80s song that kind of like expressed his emotions, as opposed to like switching the channels to talk. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? To say words. So like it was a lot more just based on hand gestures and just, again, emoting through that redesigned face that really shows his eye and mouth structure better to really give an expressive like it was just very
A
well.
lot, and throughout the movie, when B was doing his thing and being emoting and stuff, you heard a lot of women going,
Yeah,
"Aw,"
there was a lot. There was
they
women
were
in
they were
theater
they were
going,
really like they just felt he was adorable, he was cute. They're like, "Aw." And I think that's also a good thing too, like you get the hearts of the people. You really sell it to them that like, no, he's a really good guy and he's trying his best, but he's a little kid.
It,
Or like, within the context of what's going on, but
at the end
I
of
thought that was really good too. Like if I feel like whenever you go to any movie, whenever you go to any show, and the audience does that, you've won. You've literally won. You got an auditory response from the audience that just or they yell or anything like that. I feel like you're winning. You're doing something good. You're getting that reaction. Like same with wrestling. If you're able to get the people to hate you, boom, you've caught them. They're paying attention to you. If you get them to cheer you, they're cheering you. They're totally watching what's going on and invested. So I think that's also a good sign about the movie too, I feel.
I feel that at the end of the day, from a mainstream non-Transformer fan perspective, people could really appreciate this movie. You could go into it being this is your first Transformer movie, not knowing anything about the fiction and stuff, and you could jump right in and appreciate the movie. Again, just like how you could jump into E.T. with no prior knowledge of anything, not that there was any. And appreciate it and enjoy it as and consume it that way. If you're a hardcore Transformer fan like we are, there's a lot to take away from that, from a meta perspective, from a lore perspective, from just if you're someone who just consumed only the Michael Bay movies up to this point. I'll call that just the moviegoer fan who's seen all the Michael Bay movies at this point, but doesn't really follow Transformers, doesn't really watch the cartoons or read the comics. There's even stuff that if you just watch the Michael Bay movies, there's stuff that go, oh, that was from movie 1, that was from movie this. So there's still stuff even for those people too. But that being said, those 3 groups of people, each one of those are going to leave it with a different kind of impression. I think that the completely non-Transformer fans at all, like going into this, they'll enjoy this movie because it's a well-done movie with very little to zero to complain about at all.
Yeah.
There's because again, it's short, it's sweet, it's good. There's just enough action that it doesn't create any kind of mental fatigue over a long period of time. You can make out what the hell's going on.
That's true. That's one thing I didn't think about after leaving this one. Just like, oh man, like I didn't feel tired. I didn't feel heavy.
No. Like I said, I almost felt.
You're completely right. I didn't think about that just now. Like, wow.
I almost felt like, and as much as I probably would regret saying it, I almost felt like it was too short. But actually, you know what? No, it wasn't too short.
If I always think to myself, if I think it's too short, that means I liked it.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's
and
walk away.
And it should stay.
It
too
did what
short.
it needed to do.
Make you want more. So that was a good thing about that. For when it comes to the people who have just seen the 5 Bay movies and stuff, again, you'll enjoy it a lot because there's just there's enough for you to take away from what you've seen of those 5 movies and go, oh hey, I know that. Oh hey, I know that. And again, because it's a good movie, you'll enjoy it. For the hardcore fans that have been paying attention to every trailer and stuff, the only disappointment that you'll get is there isn't a lot more Cybertron stuff than what we've already seen in trailers and everything. So don't expect like a sprawling 10-minute Cybertron only scene of the Autobots and Decepticons, waging a blitz on Kaon or something. It really was more or less what we saw, and we kind of expected that. I had a big feeling that like what we were going to see in those trailers is all we were going to really see. There is more, but it's like 5 seconds. It's more.
It's a quick thing, but
It's
it's
a
still pretty cool.
there's one after credit. There's one after credit trailer thing. After credit scene that is new that we haven't seen, and then there's this one scene with the two Decepticons and a Autobot I don't want to mention just for spoilers' sake. That also is new. That was unexpected. That we didn't see in any trailers. But those again, they weren't very long, and so it's not like oh my god. So, but
I would say it's a definite watch. It's not a oh my goodness, I have to watch this just because I'm a fan of this. It's actually really good, and I highly recommend. Like if you want to drag the family to go see us, I think you could totally do it, and it's not gonna kill everybody. It's not gonna be like, oh my goodness, this is taking forever. Why are all these characters peeing on each other? Why is he underneath balls? Why?
In Transformers Slag's history of doing reviews of past Transformer movies, the past few movies that we've recorded, we've always left them with kind of a
it's like a bad taste in your mouth. We went to go see it. Yep, that was a thing.
And then here's what we liked about it, and then here's what we didn't like about it. This one, I have nothing now, here's the thing. I have nothing to complain about. I said it's a very good movie. Was it like this epic, oh my god, like you just saw Infinity War and you're shaking your friends going, you got to see the movie?
It's not that.
It wasn't that, but like
I think that's the whole point. They're not going for that. I think that's the whole thing. They're kind of like, let's pare this down. Let's do a Beast Wars. Let's pare down the cast. It's not about the big war. It's about before the big war. You know what I mean? So
I really feel it's like, again, it's that Thor movie, or that, I don't want to say Captain America, but it's like it's that smaller movie that before.
Yeah, I think you can say Captain America in the sense where it takes place in the past.
I guess so, yeah.
And then there's gonna be probably a time jump ahead. I don't know
feel,
if they're gonna be like, oh, we're gonna do the next movie in the 90s. I don't know if they're gonna do that.
I feel that this is obviously this movie, especially considering how low the budget was. I feel that this movie will find financial success and critical success, and I think that this movie, in the grand scheme of things, when we're gonna look back, is gonna be like Travis Knight is gonna do the big budget Transformer movie down the line. And
I hope he comes back.
Yeah, no, I think he did.
Again, this is a director that I really like. I like a lot of his stuff. If you have to see a movie, go see Kubo and the Two Strings. Really good animated movie. Like this guy knows what he's doing and he has a flair for it. So support him.
Yeah,
that's what I say. Support him.
He did a very, very good job of conveyance of emotions. And again, like you've mentioned before in previous podcasts, because he's an animator, he has a better awareness of directing stuff that isn't there, as opposed to Michael Bay. Michael Bay being a director who, and this isn't an insult to Michael Bay, but more practical effects. You know what I mean? So when it's there, that's how Michael Bay works, where Michael Bay wasn't probably very good at directing a CG talking robot to a human that wasn't there. Travis Knight, his whole MO is directing stuff that's on a computer screen and isn't physically in front of him. So
he comes from more of a stop motion animation, so like the stuff is always there, but it just moves so slowly.
But you're not directing it in real time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so like he's really good at like the storyboarding and getting that stuff all together. So, like I again just loved it. I loved it. Definitely, I would see it again.
I want to see
it
again.
I am definitely hoping this makes the crazy money that the Transformers movie has been making, and it doesn't fall off, kind of thing. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Is everyone going to be digging it as much?
We saw it at an early special screening release date, which, by the way, also we got to see. We also got a free tiny turbo changer when we left. They were handing those out for free. But what the problem was like we saw it early. This was a special screening, and so obviously I didn't expect the theater to be packed. It was I would have to say half full. It wasn't a
you
full.
Think so? I thought it was full.
I was looking around because I was kind of curious.
Like when I came in, I was like rushing to my seat. I was like, crap.
The theater that we had, because it was a special screening, they actually have assigned seating. We were all the way at the back, literally the last last row. We planned that.
Do it big, people.
Yeah.
Sit in the back so you could see everything on the screen without turning your head.
I was looking all across, all the way to the down. I think like it was pretty much towards the back, and the middle was filled up, and the sides and the front were barren, which most theaters are like that. But I've gone to like, premieres of other stuff, and every seat is taken. So I mean, I expected it to be half full only because it was a special preview screening and not everyone knew about it. It was kind of like a email only kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's fine. But again, when it actually does its actual debut, I'm actually tempted to go on its release day because I want to see what is the buzz, what, no pun intended, what is the turnout, and get an idea of how well this movie will do. Because I want this to do well because I like what was done here. And I'm curious to see what is done here. If it was, it's like you look at Jon Favreau and how he handled Iron Man, right? And you go, let's see this guy now do Avengers. Let's see this guy, like I want to see this director now do the big multi-character Transformer movie. I want to see let's take Travis Knight, give him 5 Autobots and 5 Decepticons and an environment, and show me what you got. You know what I mean?
Because it could be that he'll come back to do the second one, or that he's here just to put up the template and then kind of peace out. Like, okay, I set up everything for you. Now everyone else has to come in and like follow up on it. You know what I mean?
Brian Goldner, the CEO of Hasbro, he mentioned in a press conference, I think it was for the investors, he mentioned that they're seeing that with the success of the Bumblebee movie, that they want to then do a standalone Optimus movie. That was just like, it was honestly, I think I've heard that a few times, like in the past, even with the Michael Bay movies. So that's not like set in stone, but that's what I've heard in the past. So that's one possible direction. I kind of hope they don't do that, in the sense that if they do an Optimus Prime movie and it's an excuse to bring in other characters, but then if they do that, then why not just call it a Transformer mainline movie? Because that's the thing. I feel that if you do an Optimus Prime movie,
I think it's just because they want to bank harder on the characters they have, kind of thing, and that's what it seems like Hasbro's trying to do right now. Is just, you know what? Let's try to make everything fall into line with each other. So
with their
Cyberverse, the Bumblebee movie, that's possibly the comics if they come back with the comics again.
That's another thing I actually just wanted to talk about, and it's not really spoilery. Talk about Cyberverse. This Bumblebee, not only does he lose his voice, he loses his memory.
Yep.
Now it's not like 100% thrown in your face in the movie. It's more stuff that's written on his visor, like because you get like his like Terminator first person view kind of thing, and you can see like stuff that's written out. So there's parallels to that with the Cyberverse series that's out right now. In that Bumblebee, when he first comes to the planet, he doesn't remember anything really. And that also adds into his, him being naive and scared and everything when he meets Charlie, which we've seen in the trailers, is because he doesn't really know who he is. Yeah. And so it's funny that they made the parallels to that, where it's like, this is what's happening on TV right now. This is what we're doing with our new movie reboot. I
feel like Hasbro's just trying to like pull in the reins a little bit. Let's try to keep everything consistent. And it's something that we constantly talk about on the show every once in a while, where, hey, it's weird that I go to see a Batman movie, I go to the comic book shop, that Batman does not exist anywhere in the comic book shop.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean? Like, to turn around and be like, okay, that's the same as this. That's the same. You know what I mean?
That's one thing Hasbro was really good at, where Marvel and DC would actually slip up, and that's why Marvel and DC are kind of where they are comic book wise in the industry, as opposed to movie wise, is that Marvel DC, what happens in the theaters and all the success they get doesn't reflect what a fan could then turn around and purchase in the comic books, which is, again, their bread and butter. And that's a big mistake by them, and that's why, again, I don't want to criticize them too much, but that's why their industry is having a lot of problems, where Hasbro's really smart, and they were doing that as far back as the first movie, with the exception of animated, but even animated had little sprinkles of it, which was they saw what worked in the movies, and they parlayed that into their mainline stuff. They're like, oh, Bumblebee is working out like this, well, then we're gonna make Bumblebee like that. Oh, long nose prime truck with flames works, here, then we're gonna bring that over there. So they were very smart, Hasbro, in capitalizing, and I think that more happens from the sense because Transformers from like 2006 before that with the Unicron trilogy, they were achieving mediocre success on a pop culture standpoint, and then they did that 2007 movie. It became this giant pop culture phenomenon for them. Transformers was back in the public eye, and they said,
Right.
and they probably just said to themselves, well, if this is what people associate with Transformers now through this movie, then we got to make Transformers this rather than what it was before. And so
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
understandable. Where I think Marvel, I think what happened with them is, well, it's like, well, we found success all those years being a comic book and a cartoon. Why are we going to change things now?
Mm.
And take Wolverine's mask off and put a Hugh Jackman, 6'3" guy instead of a 5'3".
Well, yeah, again, like, Wolverine ends up becoming a sex symbol now, and he wasn't that before.
He never was. Wolverine, what I used to love was they used to talk about how he had bad hygiene, like he was
a short, scruffy dude.
short,
and,
smelly, scruffy guy, so, but anyways, we're getting off topic. The point is that this is for parents. This is a great movie also to bring kids. There's very little stuff. There's like a swear word or two, but it happened so quickly, like the '86 movie, that it's almost not even like noticeable. I don't know what more to say. If I had to like rank it out of 10, it gets a solid 8 to a 9. I don't want to say it's like perfect, amazing. Oh my God, you got to see it, but it's a lot better than the last 4 Michael Bay movies. This movie is so ahead of those last 4 Michael Bay movies. And I don't want to say the first one, the 2007 one, because it had a good pace too, and it had its problems, but it still was a watchable movie. But it's just so, like, this is what Transformer movies need to be for the next couple while. They really do. They need to really be this. And if you want to return to that big bombastic movie, save that for like a big movie event kind of thing, like in Avengers, like in Infinity War, for Transformers. And that's what I think they could probably do. They could probably make all these small micro movies like they're doing with these Marvel movies, like a phase 1, phase 2 kind of thing, leading up to an event. It didn't work for DC, but I think DC had its own set of problems. But like in the same sense that they found gold with certain individual movies, and then they kind of just screwed up with their Justice League. I think that they could probably make a bunch of micro movies like this, leading up to it.
Just do what Marvel did, which is like, okay, we'll do individual movies, and they'll eventually tie in. You don't make the movie to tie into stuff that's not there yet.
What would kind of be cool in a lot of ways,
you got to be cautious. You can't just be like, oh, well, this is gonna be a sure thing.
It would be kind of cool if like they do a Bumblebee movie, and that Bumblebee movie is the '80s, like we got here, and then the second movie will be like, if let's say the final cast of the big crossover movie is like Bumblebee, Jazz, Ironhide, and Ratchet, we'll return to that original crew. Let's say the next movie will be a '90s movie, and it'll be with Jazz, right? and that'll be cool, and that'll have like Fresh Prince references, and I don't know, like what I'm trying to say is like then you could turn into hip hop rap movie,
and
give it a whole new
I could see it being with Jazz specifically, just because I feel like of the main, I guess, 7 main Transformers that are on the Ark, Autobots, Bumblebee, Jazz, and Hound feel like they interact with most of the human characters.
Yeah.
I feel like they're always interacting with the humans the most comparatively of everybody. So I can see like you do those 3 movies. So you do a Bumblebee, a Jazz, and a Hound movie, and then the last one is the Transformers, everybody together.
Yeah, and then the band gets back together after you've established those micro. And I think like doing a Jazz movie will be cool about it is because it would create its own sound, it would create its own theme, it would create its own like. Again, doing that, it would be like it's the '90s. All the music is '90s hip hop and '90s rap. It could have that. It could have that aesthetic, just like you look at this movie, and it clearly had that mainstream 80s music with a few of the obscure, never really heard 80s music, but it had that 80s aesthetic. It had those 80s characters, 80s clothing. You could do a 90s jazz movie. And again, like we were mentioning before with that 70s remnants with the Bumblebee movie, even the character itself, Bumblebee, which was a 1960s Volkswagen, but still was a car that was prevalent in the hippie era of the 70s too, of the late 70s with the remnants of hippies, and the hippies who then gave birth to children of the 80s. So even the
one thing I did like about the movie is that they mentioned that the Volkswagen Beetle's not a safe car.
Oh yeah, well
they just constantly say like, "Oh my god, that thing's a death trap."
As a mechanic, trust me, I was all over this movie. I was paying, like when she goes to the scrapyard, I'm like, oh, she just took a starter there. She took a starter from a speedboat to use on a Corvette. I was like, okay, that's interesting. I wonder how she's trying to do that. But okay. But the point is that, like, again, there's a lot going on here. It has a lot of heart, this movie. This is again, if you're a Transformer fan, if you're a fan of our podcast, you're going to see it anyways. But I mean, for the few people that are listening to us and they're not Transformer fans, they're really on the boat and on the fence, and they don't know if they want to see this. It's a good movie. You're not going to waste your money, and more importantly, you're not going to waste your time. You're not going to waste your time seeing this. You're not going to go like, oh, that was a waste of 3 hours, like it's been in the past for a lot of people. It's a good 2 hours. It's under 2 hours. It's a good 2 hours. It's a good movie. You'll enjoy it. There's nothing that's going to make you say, oh, I didn't like this or I didn't like that. And again, I guess to just cap it off, I really just want Travis Knight to probably come back for this, because I'm really curious if he could do this again and on a larger scale. Anything else you want to say before we end this?
Definitely see it. I don't know. I really liked it. I mean, yeah, it felt light. You walk out of it and you're like, oh, cool, that was really fun, and you're not like, there's no big sigh like, oh man, that was a headache and a half for like a whole hour, like 4 hours, 5 hours.
Just go on YouTube and type Transformers Slag and input the name of any of the past movies, The Last Night, Age of Extinction. They're going to come up, our reviews. And you'll hear our tone of voice in those ones. Like 24 hours. This isn't like fresh movie smell and we're all like, oh, we just saw it and everything's dandy. No, this was same story. We just saw the movie. Here's how we felt, fresh in the theater. And you're going to hear a very different tone. It's like we just ran a marathon and we're just like...
Yeah, exactly. I think I liked it a little bit more than the 2007 movie. I think just a smidge bit more.
I think they're two different... They're two
like,
different...
I think that the modern trappings of movies now is like, well, I'm going to take this to the best hacker I know. And it's like, like, I'm going to steal this government info. For some reason, like, it just feels a little bit weird, but yeah, like, I don't know, I kind of dig this a little bit more. I don't know how her life is going to be after this whole event, but
yeah, I think,
but I dug it. I definitely dug it, and it's definitely something everyone can kind of enjoy, and you don't feel like, oh my god, like you don't feel crazy exasperated and anything like that.
I think to cap it off, I'll say this: in a time when that 2007 movie came out, the Iron Man movie came out that same year. And we didn't have those crazy big Marvel build-up events that we have today. We don't have the superhero movie fatigue that we have today. Keep in mind, again, Transformer movie 2007, that first Iron Man movie, which then opened the doorway to everything that we have today. I think that in a time when we're so burned out with all these big movie epic stuff, with Disney making their 50th live-action adaptation of one of their other, Disney classics, this is something that's a good bite-sized movie of a brand that, if you're a listener of this, you already love. There's a lot here as a hardcore fan to enjoy, and there's a lot here as a not hardcore fan to enjoy. If you're someone that saw E.T. back in the day and appreciated that movie for its standalone ways, you'll love that. And again, if you're someone who saw those Bay movies and want to just watch what you think is the next chapter in that, you'll still appreciate this and enjoy this, whether it be an action movie fan or just someone that's looking for a more casual watch. It's a very good movie.
I would also give a shout out to Pamela Adlon, Adlon, excuse me.
Adlon.
Adlon, she's an actress and voice actress that's been in the game for a long time. Does a lot of great stuff. She's in the movie. She plays Charlie's mom. I thought she was really good. Just acting her butt off in this and just being a mom would do that. Yeah, that's reasonable. That's completely makes sense. Just a little rundown of what she's done in the past. She was Spinelli on Recess. She was Rusty Boy Robot and Big Guy and Rusty. She was Bobby Hill in King of the Hill. She's Gunther in Adventure Time. In Bob's Burgers, she's Olsen Benner and Rose and some assorted girls in the cast. So, I mean, she's pretty active. She's constantly doing work. You've probably seen her in Californication and all that kind of other stuff. But, I was super happy to see her. And it's usually when you see certain actors or actresses, you're like, oh, cool, they're in it. Okay, so I'm here now, I think John Leguizamo is another guy like that. Whenever he pops up in a movie, oh, he's in this. I didn't know that. Oh, what's going to happen here?
So, yeah,
so see it.
Yeah,
Go see it.
Definitely see it. Check it out. We both give it a thumbs up.